Okay, welcome back. In the last lesson, we talked about setting up the home page. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the blog. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a longer lesson because of the fact the amount of content we've got to go over. So, if you don't have a lot of time, I would advise that you pause and then come back because this is going to take a little while. Anyways, without any further ado, here we go. The first thing you want to do with your blog is you want to get rid of this default post. Okay, so you go to you go to all posts and you just simply hover over it and click on trash. Okay, so it will move it into the trash, and then if you come back to your website, it's going to say there are no posts or whatever. Okay, nothing found. So what we want to do now, I've created a number of posts, and we're going to discuss each post and what the benefits are and the detriments of each type of post. Because you need to understand that the object here is to drive business to your website. Now, what Google looks for is content, okay? And let's face it, content is what we need because that's what people want to read. And Google is also what we need because they have like 95% of the market out there, or 95% of the search market, or something like that. So we definitely need content. Now, there's a few things that Google looks for when you're creating content, okay? So we're going to go through each post type that I've got here. I've actually created 6 different post types, and we're going to go through them all. So we're going to start off with this one, maintaining your fish bowls. Now, to add the post, we simply say add new, and I'm going to copy that content, I'm going to paste it in here, and I'm going to take the title, so there should always be a title in here and stuff, okay? Now, if you look at this, we're going to set it up. There's a couple of paragraphs here, but what you're going to notice is that it's only 282 words, okay? That's way too small. You do not want something that is that small for content on your site. Your site should be at least 500, I recommend 700 words per blog post, okay? And so we're not even going to bother with this one, but I wanted to point it out because quite often people come in here and they create a very short article, then they put it in and they wonder why it doesn't show up. Well, that's why. Okay? Now, what you can do if you got a number of short articles or posts that you want to talk about is you can combine them into one post, or you can use them as descriptions within your products. But as far as actual content that Google's going to index, try to keep it 700 words or higher. 6 to 700, okay? So I'm not even going to bother with this one. We're going to go to the next one. Inside of here, it's going to say, learn how to keep your tropical fish healthy and happy. Okay, so let's go into here. We're going to paste it in. We're going to go up. We're going to take the actual title. Let's bring this up, and we're going to call it that, okay? So now we've got that. Actually, let's go back because otherwise it's going to create this permalink, which we really don't want it to do, okay? So let's go back in here. Let's repaste it. Sorry, I'm going to have to come back over to here. Paste it in. Grab the title of our article. These are just sample articles, don't forget. So now, the next thing you're going to want to do is this is actually not a bad article, but what you do want to do is you want to make sure that you separate things, okay? So that it is set up as if how you wrote it, okay? Now, we're going to just basically make this all get set up properly so that the paragraphs are there, it looks good, so on and so forth, okay? So here we go. I'm going to go like that. We're going to go like this. And there. Now, The next thing we want to make sure we do is we want to make sure that our spacing is proper and so on and so forth. But if you remember, I told you before that we wanted to actually make sure that our headings are set up right. So we definitely want to set up the headings, okay? Now sometimes just setting up the headings a certain way is enough to index the whole article within Google itself. So now we're going to, so now we've got the headings set up, okay? Now the next thing we want to do, and you got to keep in mind that this is all for SEO purposes. And if you notice here, we're actually getting the URL is turning out to have certain names. Now, if we publish this, and then we go back and look at our website after it's been published, what you're going to see is that it's going to look like this. Give it a second to refresh here. Learn how to keep your tropical fish, and if you click on it, it's going to go into here, and you're going to see that it's a relatively nice article, okay? Couple of issues we have with it though. Uncategorized, like I said before, we never want to do that, okay? There's also no image associated with this. So you always have to have images, and you always have to have categories and tags that are set up properly, okay? So we're going to go back into the article itself, and we're going to, what I often do is if this is about tropical fish, which is tropical fish health, okay? That's what I've got. That's what this article is about. So I'm going to try and optimize this thing for tropical fish health. So I will copy what I was doing. I will go into here. I will search on Google. I'll go to images. Okay? I go to tools. I go to usage rights. And I say labeled for reuse with modification. And then I will choose one of the images that I really like. So this is about tropical fish. So let's look through and see what we actually like in here. Well, I kind of like the looks of this one here. Okay? And so I'm going to click on it. I'm going to right click on here. I'm going to say save image. Then I am going to actually name it exactly what I copied, okay? I'm going to then go back to my page. I'm going to go down to where it says set featured image, and I'm going to upload that image. Let's go back. Number 1, tropical fish health, okay? So now that we've got that in there, I'm going to make sure that the alt text is set the same. And this is now the featured image for this blog post, okay? So if I save it and I update it and I come back into here, it's going to look like this, okay? So it's a little big, okay? It's not what we really want. So how do we take care of this? Okay, so what we do is we go back to appearance, and we go to customize, and when we go into customize, we're going to scroll down on the side options here and stuff. What you're going to see is that we have the layout, and then down here where it says blog, okay, we've got some options. Now under the archives, let's click on blog here first of all. Under the archives, we've got options here as to what we want to display, but we've got the featured image, okay? So if we want to display the featured image, we can say above the title, or we can say below the title. You can say the alignment, but what we really want to do is we want to display the posts in columns, okay? So now what you're going to see is you're going to see a nice image in here, and you're going to see a little excerpt, and it's going to, you'll see why I'm doing this in a second. So we're going to also set this, because we don't want it to be too big, so we're going to set it to 200 by 200, okay? And if we do that, it's going to give it a nice little square in here, okay? Now, as you can see, the way it's laying this whole thing out, it doesn't quite fit the way we would like it to. So I'm going to actually let it do it on its own, okay? I just wanted to show you that you can control that. So now we've got this in here. We've got it, how many columns? As a general rule, I will set it up for 3 columns, okay? I will also set it up as a masonry grid, okay? So you're going to see what happens with that in a second. Now, I will leave the rest of this as it is, and I often make the first post featured. And the reason I do that is because it actually makes it a little bit bigger, which means that people see right off the hop the latest article that's there. So now I'm going to publish this. And the last thing we're going to do is we are going to exit out of here. We're going to go back into our post here, and where it says categories, we're going to add a new category. You should always have a category assigned to this. So we're going to call this fish health and care. Okay? And we're going to add that in there. And we're going to take that off the uncategorized, and we're going to update it. So now, if we go back and we look at our website, what we're going to see is that this is being here, and it's also showing that the fish health and care. Okay? The other thing you should do is add some tags. So you can go fish care, fish health, tropical fish. Okay, so we do that, we update it, and we go back and look at the website, and we're going to see that what's going to happen is that we've got our tags, we've got the comments. If we click on it and we go into it, you're going to see that it's got a big image up here, and if you go to the bottom, it's got fish care and all that stuff, and the ability to leave a comment. So that's the first blog post. Now we're going to do a couple more. I'm going to add in a few more blog posts, and then I will be right back. Okay, so I've added in some more blog posts here and stuff. So you can see we got 4 more. Now, I'm going to show you something that, first of all, let's just get rid of this one, because this is the one we did not want because it was too small. Okay? So now I'm going to show you something. If you actually look at the blog now, what is wrong with this? Okay? If you look at it, you can see that, yeah, we've put in the titles, we've got pictures. You can see that we've got the latest one is bigger than the rest, so it's doing its thing. And we've got our photos, we got the categories, we got the fish, we got the tags, and if you click on one of them, you can see that if you go in, you can actually see the article. It's got all this stuff, but what is wrong with this? So let me explain something here. If you look at this, it looks kind of messy, okay? And the reason why it looks messy is because it's not actually adhering to some of the things that Google really looks for, okay? So for instance, let's go back and take a look at a couple things here. If you look at the titles, this title was great, okay? This one here, types of fish. Well, that doesn't really tell you a lot, does it? Now, Google indexes that. So we really want to change that to something along the lines of picking types of fish for your aquarium. Okay? That is way more descriptive than types of fish. Okay? So when you have an article, you want something along those lines. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do that. Now, the other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your permalink actually reflects it as well. So if you've done something like that, you want to actually make sure that your permalink is reformatted so that it reflects the actual title of your page. Okay? And always keep your permalinks in lowercase. Because if you do not, Google's going to get all mixed up and your site is going to get mixed up and so on and so forth. So now, if we do that, and we also want to do one other thing, is down here where we got the featured image, the image is fine itself, but click on it and make sure that your title and your alt tag actually reflect it, okay? Now when we go and update it, and we go back and we look at the post page, let it finish updating itself, and we go back and we look at it, and we refresh it. Let's go down and take a peek at it now. Does that not look better? Of course it looks better. And Google likes it a lot better because it makes more sense, and it also turns around. Now your categories and your tags are fine to be short, but this actually tells right here, this is what Google is going to index. Okay, so that really makes more sense than just types of fish, because there's all kinds of types of fish. So that's one thing about this that actually needed to be fixed. Now over here, this is really messy. Okay, now why? Well, this here is like you're talking to somebody, and quite honestly, these special characters, exclamation, dot, 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 the dash isn't as bad, but it's still not great in an actual title of a page, because look up here, it's going, and the thing about it is that as soon as Google sees this exclamation, it's going to stop. It's going to stop indexing. It's going to go, okay, that's the end of the statement. So that is what they're talking about. So it's going to index you as if you are indexing ah. And do you know how many sites are out there that are indexing ah? Just to show you, let's go over to here. Well, let's just go to here, and let's search Google for ah. 92,600,000 of them. Okay, and you're going to be competing against something called Urban Dictionary or Wiktionary. You do not want Google to stop indexing on ah. So what you should do is you should come back and you should actually edit that post. Okay, so what I would do in this case is I would take something like this, and I would change it to saltwater aquarium pests and parasites. Okay, I would take the ah right out. I would say that's the title. Then in here I would go dealing with this, the creepy crawlers. I would set that to the secondary heading. Okay, and then what I would do is I would go down, and you'll see that we've got actual bullet points in here and stuff. I would go through and I would highlight various things like this, and I would bold them, because Google's going to look for headings, and it's going to look for bold, and it's going to look for a lot of things that would be normal for somebody actually writing a article and stuff. So pests, parasites, bold them. You can do a few things, like if you want to do this, So parasitic flatworms, I would underline that and bold it. So it gives you a little variation on your article, and then if you update it now and you take a look at it, oh, we forgot to do this. Let's change this. Let's edit this and let's go. See, even the URL, the permalink URL was not good. So it took it away itself. So if we update that now and we go back and we look at the article now, we've got that. That makes a lot more sense. Dealing with this, the creepy crawlies, you can see that it starts looking better. Now, one of the things you can do is you can put this up at the top or whatever you want. It doesn't really matter that much. Sometimes what I do is I will actually do something along these lines in order to put variation in here. Is I will go to here and I will say add media. I will go to this and you'll notice that I had changed that already. I will insert that into the post. Then I will say I want it on the right, so it sets it up like that, and I will go down here and I will disable the actual featured image. Okay, so now that does not disable it within the archive itself. So if I update that now, what you're going to see is that if I refresh this page, that's going to give me a little image over here, but if I go back to my blog, you're still going to have your featured image in here. It's still going to be there, but if they go into it, it actually puts it in here and so on and so forth. So you can see that this is actually looking like a pretty good article now. So that is another way. Sometimes you actually put in variations and stuff. So Google is looking for different types of content, variation within everything. Now this article here, it's not bad. Okay, if you look into it, it's not bad. But once again, in this case, because this is a beautiful picture, I would leave it where it is. But once again, we would want to get rid of this stuff here. It's not too bad because it's going to index this. Okay, so but this beautiful thing doesn't really mean much. Okay, so while I may leave it there, what I would really do is I would do this, is I would go back to the article, I would edit it, and I would simply do this. I would just go in and I would edit the actual permalink and take away the beautiful, because that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, right? And you'll notice that I've gone through and I've bolded various things in this article that have to do with aquarium, saltwater aquarium fish. So if I update that now, what you're going to see is that you now have, the article is going to look much the same. We're going to refresh it, but if we click on it, the actual URL is going to have an actual English statement that makes more sense. Okay, you can still have this, and you can see that it looks like a pretty good little article. Okay, so that's how you deal with your blogs. Now, your blog is really important on your website because of the fact that you need content on your website so that Google will actually index it. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson, and I will talk to you in the next.